Hey guys, what's up? We are back with some more reactions after dark, and we are of course going to be watching She Built a Beauty Empire, then her lawyer burned her in cow dung by Dark Asia with Megan. Of course, we're continuing Dark Asia Week, where we are watching Dark Asia with Megan every day for the entire week. This should be on Tuesday, question mark, Tuesday's video. Last time was actually not chill, but nobody really was hurt except for um, well, as far as we know, because we didn't get really a lot of information on if anything happened to anyone. Nobody was hurt except for the police chief who self-immolated out of shame, again, which he did not need to do that, but unfortunate that he did. Yeah, I'm assuming, obviously, this isn't going to be uh, just all rainbows and butterflies this time around, because you can already see in the title that something's going to happen to this woman, which is like, what do you mean? Burned her in cow dung. Like, that is a statement and a half. Also, of course, disclaimer. I'm not going to read this entire thing. I read it in yesterday's video, this big disclaimer at the beginning. But of course, just viewer discretion is advised. Violence, abuse, exploitation, traumatic events, yada yada yada. What you'd expect.
They say money makes the world go round, that everyone needs it and everyone wants it. But the real question is, how far would someone go to get it? This is the story of Datuk Susilawati Lawia, a millionaire and self-made cosmetics tycoon who had everything. But on August 30th, 2010, she walked into a meeting she would never walk out of. Her body never recovered, killed by someone she trusted.
How did they not recover her body? I guess because it was burned, but still.
This is one of Malaysia's most brutal murder cases, a case that would shock the nation and expose just how dark human greed can become. May 23, 2013. At the Shah Alam High Court, journalists packed shoulder to shoulder outside the courtroom, cameras ready, fighting for position to capture what was happening inside. This wasn't just any murder trial. This was one of the biggest cases Malaysia had ever seen, and Justice Datuk Akhtar Tahir was about to deliver his verdict. But here's what made the case so extraordinary. There was no body, no corpse to examine, no remains.
Forensic scientists recovering remains. Well, remains of quotations, so no remains to identify. Would doing it like that actually basically leave no evidence?
To identify. Just fragments, tiny pieces of tissue, bone, and ash. The rest was gone, completely destroyed, and the victim was one of Malaysia's most famous entrepreneurs, Datuk Susilawati Lawia. So what happened to her? To understand that, we need to go back to where it all began.
Yeah, why would our lawyer do it on top of that?
In 1963, in Batu Pahat, Johor, Susilawati was born into poverty. Not the kind you see in movies, but the real kind where 14 mouths needed feeding, and there was barely enough to go around. She was one of 13 siblings, and her parents struggled to afford even basic necessities. While other kids played, young Susilawati worked, rubber tapping under the hot sun for long hours just to help her family survive. But she had something her circumstances couldn't take away: ambition. As an adult, she became a door-to-door salesperson, walking and standing for hours selling cosmetics. Most people would have given up, but not Susilawati. She studied every product she sold, learned the ingredients and techniques, understood the business, and saved every ringgit she could spare. Then in the 1990s, she took the leap and founded Nouvelle Beauty Center Sendirian Berhad, and exploded. Within years, her brand became a household name with 300 stores across Malaysia, Brunei, Singapore, and Thailand. Her company's assets reached 6.37 million ringgits, and she was recognized by the Johor state government with the Wanita Nadi Negara Award for her achievement.
The award honors outstanding Malaysian women leaders driving national progress.
Susilawati had done the impossible. She'd gone from tapping rubber to running an empire. She married 3 times, had 6 children, and
3 times, so 3 different husbands. Are these her children? Yeah, she said she had 6 children. Yes, it's her and her children.
lived with her family in Taman Harmones, Gombak. To the outside world, she had it all. But success has a price, and
How many children per guy? Is it 2 per guy?
the higher you climb, the harder the fall. In Susilawati's world, not everyone was happy about her success. In August 2010, Susilawati's life was busy as
Susilawati. I'm trying to hear how say her name. Susilawati. It's crazy, interesting sounding name. Susilawati. I think it's a cool name, I think.
always with magazine photo shoots, a special appearance recording holiday greetings for Bernama TV. On April 28th, she attended a dinner gala to break fast at Sultan Salahuddin Abdulaziz Shah Mosque in Shah Alam. She was also dealing with a legal battle, a 1.38 million ringgit property claim case against her ex-husband, Nash. But there was another matter that needed her attention, money that Pathmanaban owed her. Susilawati had sold land through a business deal with Pathmanaban acting as her lawyer.
Okay, so he didn't want to repay her, so he got rid of her? And now you're gonna hopefully spend the rest of your life in jail? Hello? Like, is it worth it?
Payment for the proceeds from that sale, he'd given her 2 post-dated checks totaling 4 million ringgits, dated for September 9th. But Susilawati needed the money sooner. She wanted to pay Hari Raya bonuses to her staff and give money to her family for the upcoming.
Hold on, I didn't think that was gonna go away so quickly.
She wanted to pay Hari Raya bonuses
Haira is the major Muslim festival marking the end of Ramadan.
To her staff and give money to her family for the upcoming celebration. So on August 30th, 2010, she decided to go see Pathmanaban face to face to ask him to pay her early, to bring forward the payment dates on those checks. And she wouldn't be going alone. She brought 3 people with her. Nurhisham Mohammed, a 38-year-old bank officer, Ahmad Kamil Abdul Karim, her 32-year-old lawyer, and her driver, 44-year-old Kamaruddin Shamsuddin.
Okay, so she had 3 men with her. Though, I was like, okay, are they gonna turn on her? Or, like, how could this happen to her if we have, like, 4 people rolling up on this place, right? We're gonna overpower 4 people? Because if you look at the top right, it says the victims, you know, up there, where my ears wiggling, the victims. So that implies that these other guys got screwed over too. So how many guys does this guy have? Like, did they have like a posse bigger than this waiting for them to show up and then they all got eliminated or what? Like, what do you mean 4 people roll up for just like a business transaction and then they all die? Question mark.
The meeting was supposed to take a few hours, and they'd be back by evening. They left Kuala Lumpur that morning, heading to Banting, to Pathmanaban's farm in Tanjung Sepat, and none of them would ever come home. That evening,
Okay, so they all died.
Susilawati's daughter tried calling her mother, but there was no answer. She tried again and again, getting nothing. Then called the others, Nurisham, Ahmad Kamil, Kamaruddin, but no one picked up. As the sky turned dark, panic set in because this wasn't like her mother. Something was wrong. Ernie, her daughter, didn't wait. She went straight to the police station and filed a missing person report. But here's the thing. Nobody demanded ransom. There were no threats, no calls, no messages. So the police classified it as a missing person case, not a kidnapping, not a murder, just missing. The family left the station that night with nothing but questions and a sinking feeling in their stomachs, having no idea what their loved ones had just been through. So let's go back to that day, August 30th, 2010, between 8:30 p.m. and 9:45 p.m. at the farm in Tanjung Sepat. When Susilawati and her 3 companions arrived at Pathmanaban's betel leaf and vegetable farm at Lot 2001, Jalan Tanjung Layang in Sungai Gadong, they expected a straightforward meeting. Perhaps some tea, paperwork to sign, a professional discussion about bringing forward the payment dates on those 4 million ringgit checks. Instead, they were met by 4 men lying in.
Okay, so it was also 4 men on that side, but they're ambushing them. Like, again, was it really worth it? Like, just pay the money instead of spending the rest of your life in jail or like getting the death sentence? Question mark. We can only assume, or in some cases where some people hope that they got the penalty, but
In wait, Pathmanaban and 3 farmhands he'd hired for the specific purpose: Thilayalagan, Kathavarian, and Matan. The preparations had been made days before. Logs had been gathered and brought to the farm. Everything carefully planned. And what happened next was pure, calculated horror. The attack was immediate and brutal. Cricket bats came swinging at their heads, their backs, their bodies.
it's so weird. It's like, yeah, let me just hire 3 farmers to be like, okay, we're gonna remove some people from existence, and here's a little bit of money for it. Like, really? Just like farmers, just like, yeah, I'll commit murder for a little bit of cash.
Other blunt objects rained down on them. The victims tried to fight back, but they were outnumbered 4 against 4, and the attackers had the element of surprise and weapons ready. They were beaten relentlessly, targeted specifically at the head and back to weaken them quickly. The blows continued until they could barely stand, barely think, barely resist. Then their hands were tied tightly with wire, binding them helpless. But even then, the beating didn't stop. He needed to buy time, to create a cover story to keep the families from raising alarms too quickly. So one of the men grabbed Norisham's phone and shoved it at him with clear instructions. Call your wife. Tell her you'll be gone for 3 days. Tell her you're helping Susilawati with land business in Genting Highlands. Norisham, his face already bloodied and swollen from the beating, his body racked with pain, terrified and knowing what would happen if he didn't comply, did exactly as he was told.
Wouldn't his wife know something's wrong, though? If he's like that beaten up, wouldn't he sound weird?
Wife, 39-year-old Susanna Redin Pangat, answered the phone. He forced the words out, telling her he'd be away for 3 days, that Susilawati had problems with her driver and they're all heading to Genting Highlands, that he was busy with work and couldn't come home. The story was absurd, if you thought about it. Going to Genting Highlands during Ramadan, the holy month of fasting, on the spur of the moment for 3 days. But Susanna didn't have time to think it through. She was furious. Here she was, alone with the children during the fasting month, and her husband was once again prioritizing work over family, choosing Susilawati's business over his own wife and kids. She yelled at him through the phone, told him he was being selfish, inconsiderate. She had absolutely no idea that, as she spoke those angry words, her husband was sitting on that farm floor, hands bound with wire, a weapon held to his throat, his face so badly beaten he could barely see through the swelling, surrounded by his murderers who were listening to every word, making sure he stuck to the script. Similarly, Ahmad Kamil was forced to call his wife with the same fabricated story about
Okay, so they're all being forced to call. Those are one of these wives going to be like, hold up, you sound kind of weird. You sound like you're in trouble. I'm not buying it. I'm calling the police.
Genting Highlands.
Or
the killers were meticulous, making sure both families would wait 3 days before panicking. 3 days for the trail to go cold. After the calls ended, things escalated from brutal to barbaric. Sharp objects came out, knives, possibly a machete, and the attackers began stabbing the victims. Not random stabs, but calculated strikes to vital areas, to major organs designed to kill. Blood splattered violently across the farmhouse walls. It pooled on the ground, spreading across the floor. Now came the hard part, getting rid of the bodies. The killers had thought this through carefully, smearing the bodies with cow excrement, because dried cow dung speeds up combustion and has been used as fuel for fires in many cultures for centuries. In Hinduism, it even has spiritual significance. But that wasn't enough, so they wrapped the bodies in zinc sheets, poured petrol over everything, and lit the fire. The flames rose high, so high they scorched the nearby palm trees,
okay, we're gonna start a forest fire from this.
burning hot and fierce, turning flesh and bone to ash. Standing there watching the fire, Pathmadban smiled again, thinking it was perfect. No bodies, no evidence, no trace.
Or do we have evidence of him doing that? Like, did he say, yeah, I smiled as we burned them?
But he was wrong because someone saw. An Indonesian maid
Ah, so maybe she saw him smiling.
named Hamida Karnax was working near the farm when she saw a woman and 3 men enter the property. Then she heard it, a woman scream, piercing and terrified. Then she saw the massive fire rising from inside the farm. She was too scared to investigate and left without telling anyone, at least not yet. After the fire died down, the killers collected what was
Searching, recovering evidence from the river.
left. Ash, bone, fragments, whatever remained. Put it all in a container and dumped it into Sungai Panchao. The weapons were also thrown into the river. Pathmanahan thought he'd gotten away with it. But secrets don't stay buried forever. On September 6, 2010, a week after Susilawati disappeared, a BMW X5 with license plate WTL11 was found in a parking lot at Angsana USJ1, Subang Jaya. It was Susilawati's car. Shortly after, Ahmad Kamil's BMW 5 Series was found in a residential area near the Grand Dorset Hotel, also in Subang Jaya. The cars were there, but the people were gone. Now the police knew this wasn't a missing person case anymore. This was something darker. Forensics got to work examining fingerprints and DNA, going over every inch of those cars. Then they pulled Susilawati's phone records, calls, messages, everything. And that is when they found it. Susilawati's last communications showed she was supposed to meet someone. Actually, 2 lawyers who were brothers. N. Pathmanaban, 41 years old, and his brother, Surendran, 38. The police knew what that meant because
Okay, so was his brother on it too? So both brothers conspired to do this? Again, like, just go through with your... Why? Like, did you not have the money? Just say you didn't have the money. Or you just really did not want to give up the money that she gave you to do whatever it was you had to do? Like, why? I don't get why it had to come to this. For something like so, like, that's such a nothing situation. It's just business transactions that you've been probably doing for a decade at this point. You're just like, oh, you know, this one, I don't feel like it. Let me just eliminate 4 people and then ruin my life.
in most crimes, the perpetrator is someone close to the victim, someone who saw them last. On September 11th, both brothers were brought in for questioning, and 6 farm workers from Pathmanaban's property were also detained.
6?
And then the police went to the farm. And what they found made their blood run cold. Blood splattered across the walls, a cricket bat hidden in a corner with blood on it, zinc sheets, torn pieces of underwear, and a makeshift burning site with the ground scorched black.
What do you mean burnt underwear? Is that just because it got burnt while they were... Was it cheap? Burnt or say torn?
Blood on it, zinc sheets, torn pieces of underwear.
Yeah, torn underwear. That's kind of like, okay, did they do something else? Because that kind of implies that it was even worse than we're being told, but maybe it's just because of the burning, like some of it like burnt off and then flew away, and it looked like it's torn or something. I don't know.
And a makeshift burning site with the ground scorched black. They called in forensic teams, searched the farm, and dredged the nearby river. What they pulled out was horrifying. 2,030 specimens of burned human bones, teeth fragments, tissue remnants, and Susilawati's belongings, including her watch and other personal items. And DNA tests confirmed it. These were the victims. On September 12, 2010, the police made an announcement that Tuk Susilawati Lawia and her 3 companions had been murdered, brutally and mercilessly. Pathmanaban, the farm owner, was arrested as the main suspect. But why? Why would a successful lawyer, a man with money, power, and a good reputation, do something like this? During the investigation,
Yeah, that's what we need to know, because it doesn't make any sense.
the truth came out. Pathmanaban had gotten himself into an impossible situation.
Let me guess, debt or something stupid like that.
He'd been acting as the lawyer for a major land deal in Penang. Land
Wait, acting as a lawyer? Are you saying, are you going to tell me that he wasn't really a lawyer and he was just faking it?
worth 25 million ringgits. But here's the problem. He was representing both sides of the deal. On one side was Susilawati selling the land through her company. On the other side was Datuk Abdul Rahman Palil, a powerful politician, buying the land through his company. This is a massive ethical violation. A lawyer cannot represent both the buyer and the seller in the same transaction. It's a conflict of interest that compromises everything. But
Okay, so I mean, he's getting paid for both sides, right? So he's getting a lot of money from, her selling it and him buying it.
Pathmanaban did it anyway. And worse, there were allegations that the entire deal was fraudulent, involving forged documents. The judge later said Pathmanaban was caught between the devil and the deep blue sea, stuck between a powerful politician and a wealthy businesswoman. When the deal started falling apart and Susilawati came demanding her 4 million ringgits, Pathmanaban panicked. He was cornered. He had to choose, disappoint the politician or eliminate his client. He couldn't pay the money because his bank account only had 1.3 million ringgits, nowhere near the 4 million ringgits he owed. So he made a choice, a monstrous choice. He contacted 3 of his farmhands, Tilayalagan, Katavarian, and Matan.
I feel like the reasoning is still not good enough. Like, I mean, there wouldn't have never been a reason good enough, but that reason is stupid.
And told them what needed to be done. Kill them, all of them, and burn the evidence. And they did. On October 13th,
And that part doesn't make sense either. You're his farmhand, so if he tells you to murder, you're just like, yeah, sure, it's just part of the job, is just murder. So it's like, how many people have y'all murdered in your entire life that you can just easily just do it like that?
2010, Pathmanaban and the 3 farmhands were officially charged with 4 counts of murder. 2 other workers, 19-year-old Sarwanan and 25-year-old Suresh, were charged with helping dispose of evidence and pleaded guilty. Initially sentenced to 7 years, though that sentence was later increased to 20 years. The trial itself was intense. Narisham's wife Susanna took the stand and testified about the phone call, how her husband told her she'd be gone for 3 days, how she'd gotten angry thinking he was choosing work over family. Now she knew the truth. He'd been forced to make that call with a knife at his throat, beaten and bloodied. The farm owner's nephew testified that his aunt had sold the property to Pathmanaban a year before the murders. Susilawati's ex-husband testified too, saying he tried to contact her, and when he reached out to Pathmanaban, the lawyer acted surprised, asking why would someone like Susilawati just disappear? Even then, he was lying. The Indonesian maid, Siti Hamida Karnax, became a key witness and told the court what she'd seen. The woman and 3 men entering the farm, the scream, the massive fire. In April 2012, the defense trial began, and each defendant had their story. Tilayalagan's lawyer claimed he'd never even met the victims, and asked how he could murder people he didn't know. Matan said the same. No motive, no contact, no reason.
I mean, isn't it easy to, like, go at someone you don't know? Because it's harder for them to connect you to the person. I don't know. That's not a defense. It's like, how can I kill someone I don't know? Like, what do you mean? You could, that's probably easier because you have no emotional attachments to the person.
Kathavarian's defense was different because he admitted he was there and said he'd helped restrain the driver, but he blamed the others for the actual killings and claimed Pathmanaban had told him to keep quiet. The prosecution tore these defenses apart because the evidence was overwhelming and the stories didn't match. It was all unreliable. On May 23, 2013, Justice Datuk Akhtar Tahir delivered his judgment, and the courtroom was silent. He found that Pathmanaban had clear motive: the money, the conflicting land deals, the pressure, and that he orchestrated the entire thing while the 3 farmhands had carried it out. The judge noted something crucial. Susilawati was the target, and the other 3 were just in the wrong place at the wrong time. The verdict was guilty for all 4 of them, and the sentence was death by hanging.
Okay, so all 4 of them got death penalty.
Outside, the media erupted with cameras flashing and reporters scrambling for statements. Susilawati's daughter Ernie was there and felt relief. Finally, justice. But the case wasn't over. The 4 condemned men appealed. On December 4th, 2015, at the Court of Appeal, Justice Datuk Tengku Maimun Tuan Mat led the panel, and her judgment was clear. The circumstantial evidence proved it, and even without the bodies, the facts pointed to one conclusion. Susilawati and her 3 companions were dead, and these 4 men killed them. The appeals were dismissed. They tried again at the federal court on October 31st, 2016.
Okay, why haven't they just been gotten rid of? Because they're just going to keep appealing and appealing and appealing and hope that someone just gives in. Like someone possibly that they can get in like the pockets of, or like the other way around, like they can empty their pockets for and get them off the hook. So I feel like how does like a death penalty work? Like you're not supposed to know when it happens, so they can just keep waiting and waiting and waiting. So that's making it easier for them to just get off the hook.
On March 16, 2017, the federal court delivered its final verdict with 3 appeals dismissed. Pathmanaban, Tilayalagan, and Kathavarian.
Okay, 3. So one of these guys, one of the farmhands.
His appeal was accepted because there wasn't enough evidence connecting him directly to the murders, only that he moved some logs the day before. He walked free while the others remained on death row. On July 4th, 2023, Malaysia abolished the mandatory death penalty. Though it didn't eliminate capital punishment entirely, it just made it discretionary so judges could now choose between death or 30 to 40 years in prison. This gave death row prisoners a chance to appeal for resentencing. Pathmanaban's and Tilayalagan's lawyers filed applications arguing for life imprisonment instead of execution. On October 8, 2024, the federal court heard the appeals. Pathmanaban's lawyer painted a picture of suffering, 14 years on death row, the psychological torture, the vision of the noose. Tilayalagan's lawyer argued his client was young and deserved a second chance. Kathavarian withdrew his application, having accepted his fate. And the prosecution stood firm, with Deputy Public Prosecutor Datuk Muhammad Dusuki Mokhtar describing the brutality. 4 innocent lives, bodies burned beyond recognition. The death sentence should stand, he argued, and the judges agreed. Applications dismissed, death sentences upheld. Ernie, Susilawati's daughter, had always been clear about her stance. She wanted the death penalty because her mother died brutally, and the killers deserved the same fate.
Okay, so those 3 guys are still going to get the penalty. It's just the one guy who got off. So he got off for free. So is he just not even in jail? That's assuming that he didn't do it. But if he did do it, he might like go crazy from guilt, which you can only hope. Like if he did actually help them kill them, or was it like literally he was just there because he is a farmhand at that location?
Even now, the family can't drive through Banting because the trauma is too much. And there is something else about Pathmanaban, something even darker. During the investigation, his name came up in connection with other disappearances, other clients.
That's what I'm saying. Like, how do you just do this if it's not just something you're just been doing a lot? Like I mentioned it earlier. Like, have they just been doing this all the time? It only makes sense if they can just so easily just be like, yeah, let me just take out this client and let me have my farmhands help me with it. Like they have done this, like they've done something like this before. Again, it only makes sense.
An Indian businessman, a housewife, and others. In total, Pathmanaban was suspected in 13 murder cases, but no further charges were pursued since he was already sentenced
I mean, he's already going to get hanged, so.
to death for Susilawati's murder. The Banting murders became infamous as the only second case in Malaysian history where someone was convicted of murder without a body. The first was the 1963 Sunny Ang case, where a Singaporean law student murdered his girlfriend during a scuba diving trip. Susilawati's case opened the nation's eyes and sparked debates about greed, about human nature, about the death penalty itself. This was a case about what people do for money, how far greed can push someone, how trust can be betrayed. Susilawati had everything and had built an empire from nothing, but in the end, someone else's greed destroyed her. So here's what we need to think about. What would you do for money, for power, for fame? Would you sacrifice everything you've built? Would you sacrifice someone else's life? Pathmanaban had it all: reputation, career, wealth. But that wasn't enough, and he wanted more. 4 people paid the price, and maybe even more. The Banting murders remind us of a simple truth. No amount of money is worth a human life, but some people will never believe that, not until it's too late. That is all for today. Thanks for watching.
And that was that video. But yeah, again, it does not make sense. The motive, it's just like, oh yeah, I don't want to pay, so let me just kill my client. Again, unless this is just something he's been doing for a long time, which it seems like it was, and he's just so used to it that it's just an easy option of like instead of trying to think of a more reasonable option, it's just like, yeah, I've already taken out a few other clients before in my years. You know, what's another one on the belt, right? That's all that I'm getting out of that is that this is just something he's been doing quite often in his lifetime. It only makes sense. So hopefully they've been gotten rid of by now? Question mark. Uh, yeah, it kind of seems like they were on death penalty for quite a while. Cause it's like 14 years, 14, 15 years, something like that, waiting to be death penalty, and yet still weren't. But no matter what they did, they still could not appeal it. So I'm assuming they're gone now? Question mark. Hopefully. I'm guessing this is her and her daughter when her daughter was a kid. Obviously, probably the one who was like the most vocal about getting these guys the penalty. I would assume. But yeah, I think that is going to be it for today. Again, this is Dark Asia week, so there will be another video going up tomorrow as well, and then the day after that, the day after that, and the day after that. Hey guys, thanks for watching. Remember to buy my stickers or think about becoming a member. Subscribe if you haven't subscribed, so we're working on watch time and subscribers. And don't forget we have a throne now as well. And shout out the members, EmmyStarr, RaleyDrew, and alexgkiller 880. But yeah guys, thanks for watching. Tune into the next episode. Like, subscribe, comment. You know what to do. See ya.